Today's scam is a scary one because it involves something almost all of us come into contact with every day. This scam could happen to any of us, and it can most certainly lead to death, like it did for the victim I'm about to talk about. Be sure to stick around to the end of the video because there's important information I'm going to share with you on how you can protect yourself from being hurt or even killed by this scam. Who here remembers the movie Matilda? Matilda's father, played by Danny DeVito, was this sleazy car salesman who would buy junked up vehicles, put no money into fixing them, like gluing bumpers on, cranking back the odometer to make it look like the car had fewer miles, and then reselling them for twice as much as he paid.
Daddy, you're a crook.
Nobody ever got rich being honest.
The movie portrays this sort of wrongdoing in a comical way, but to find out that this type of auto mechanic malpractice is actually happening in real life is just terrifying. And never has that terror been more evident than with the story of Bobby Ellsworth. In 2003, 18-year-old Bobby Ellsworth and his friend Waylon Blocker were hanging out one Saturday night. Bobby's parents had gone out to dinner that evening, so he decided he would take the opportunity to go out too. So his friend Waylon swings by Bobby's house and picks him up in his pickup truck. Bobby had a car, but that night they decided to take Waylon's truck. It was a truck his dad had bought for him from an auto shop owner that he knew. So Waylon pulls up to Bobby's house, Bobby gets in, and they drive to another friend's house to hang out. Later that night, when the friends are done hanging out, Waylon and Bobby jump back into Waylon's truck and head home. By this time, it's very late at night and they're driving down this dark, two-lane country road. As Waylon is behind the wheel, he starts nodding off, but he snaps back awake and tries to focus on the road. But a short time later, he begins drifting off again. And soon, he just falls asleep behind the wheel. The truck suddenly veers into the wrong lane where another car was coming towards them in the other direction, and the two cars collided. Bobby was killed instantaneously because the passenger side where he was sitting is where the other car had made impact. After the crash, when the police began their investigation of the scene, they looked inside Waylon's smashed up pickup truck and noticed something very strange. No airbags had deployed. Airbags that would have most likely saved Bobby's life. But why was that? This was a vehicle that was recently purchased by the friend's father from a used car dealer. It was in good running shape. It should have been equipped with all the proper safety devices like airbags. Why didn't they go off? Well, it turns out there was a very good explanation. The airbags never deployed because the airbags were stuffed with trash. The parents of 18-year-old Bobby Ellsworth were devastated by the loss of their son, especially after learning that none of the front airbags in the truck had inflated, which was just inexcusable and could have easily prevented his death. They were determined to find out exactly what happened. Most importantly, where were the airbags? They were about to discover some very telling facts. When the pickup truck was purchased by Waylon's dad from the auto shop owner, Arnold Parra, he was told that the vehicle was in mint condition and had only been in a minor rear collision. So he gladly paid the $8,000 for the truck and gave it to his son. But Arnold Parra was hiding a dark secret, because the truth was that truck had been previously totaled in a wreck where the airbags deployed just fine. That truck was a salvage vehicle that Arnold Parra bought at an auction because he planned on fixing it up and selling it, which is something he did as a side gig along with fixing cars as a mechanic. A salvaged vehicle is one that's been damaged in an accident or a fire or some other way, and is considered a total loss by the insurance company. These cars are then sold at auctions to salvage yards who resell the usable parts from the car, and to rebuilders like Arnold Parra who want to restore the car and sell them to consumers. Lots of people make a living doing this, and it's a totally legitimate and legal practice. But what's not legitimate is what Arnold Parra did next. As he's restoring this salvage pickup truck at his auto shop, getting it ready to be sold, he absolutely knew that the airbags were defunct. No good. He knows this for an absolute fact because when he bought the truck at auction, the airbags were already hanging out because of that previous accident it was involved in. However, instead of installing new airbags, he just cut the old ones out, filled the airbag compartment with paper, and then, sealed it up. And on the passenger side of the car, where Bobby was sitting and died, he had left the airbags empty but sealed them shut to make it look like they were functional. Brand new airbags can cost upwards of a few $1,000s, so this was likely his way of saving some money, even if it came at the cost of killing someone. In this case, 18-year-old Bobby Ellsworth. The truck was then sold to Bobby's friend's dad without anyone knowing it had no functioning airbags. So just how common is this type of airbag fraud, and could it really happen to you? According to reports, it's not that uncommon in salvaged vehicles. Dishonest dealers and crooked body shops will commit this scam as an insurance scheme. Since buying and installing a new airbag costs thousands of dollars, they'll charge insurance companies for it, but then just pocket the money and never actually make the repair. Insurance fraud investigators have found just about everything when it comes to airbag fraud. Many times they find counterfeit airbags, which are known not to work properly, or they find the original faulty airbag pushed back in and sealed shut. But there are some even more shocking things they've found stuffed inside the little compartment where the airbag should be. Paper, packing peanuts, empty cigarette packs, sneakers, even beer cans. And as humorous as it might sound to find a bunch of smashed up beer cans inside your steering wheel, it's actually not funny at all and a very serious issue that's led to numerous deaths just like Bobby Ellsworth. In 2009, Bobby Ellsworth's parents won a $15 million lawsuit against Arnold Parra, the guy who sold Bobby's friend's dad the truck. Parra was not convicted of any federal crime because there were no airbag replacement laws about faking an airbag repair. And the family will never see a dime of that $15 million because Arnold Parra committed suicide in his shop just weeks after that verdict. But some good did come out of Bobby Ellsworth's case. After his death, Bobby's parents, Robert and Mary, became very active for promoting change when it came to vehicle safety for consumers. They met with senators, joined advocacy groups, they even wrote a letter to Arnold Schwarzenegger when he was the governor of California. Their fight for justice paid off, because in 2011, California Governor Jerry Brown signed a law that made it a crime to fake the repair of an airbag, punishable by a $5,000 fine and/or 1 year in prison. Negligent car sellers were now going to be held accountable. This is now a law in many states across the nation. The Bobby Ellsworth case also helped push the release of a national public database that allows car consumers to track a vehicle's detailed history, including whether it was stolen or salvaged, which is something that was not widely available before, especially not to ordinary car buyers like you and I. When buying a used car, you're pretty much taking the seller's word for it that all the necessary safety devices have been properly installed. I mean, short of hovering over the mechanic while they put a new airbag in, how do you really know it's being done? Whether you're buying a used car from a dealership or maybe somebody online, if you suspect an airbag is missing, don't try to open the compartment yourself because you could injure yourself. Instead, seek out an auto shop you trust or find a licensed mechanic to inspect the airbags for you. But what you can do on your own is check your steering wheel. The center portion where the airbag lives should be the same color, same material, and texture as the rest of the wheel. Check for gaps between the center and the rest of the steering wheel. The airbag compartment should be an exact fit because the manufacturer designed them that way. Also on the passenger side, check for any creases, seams, or gaps in the dashboard, discoloration or non-matching textures as well. You can also check for things like scuff marks or scratches around the airbag compartment. Most of us don't bother to think if an airbag in our car is working or not until we're in an accident, and by that point, it's obviously too late. We sort of expect them to be there and functioning properly, but it could cost you your life, so be safe. That's it for today's scam. If you enjoy scam stories like these, hit that subscribe button because I try to post 1 to 2 times per week. So until next time, keep your eyes open for scams.